Nippon League superstar Roki Sasaki, 23 years old, with some, if you're not aware, electric arm talent. Hits over 100. We've seen him in the World Baseball Classic hit 102. Got a nasty breaking ball off that. They say he's got stuff plus of Yamamoto, but less control. And again, at 23 years old, super young, but an accomplished arm already. And Jesse, it just feels like Ohtani is acquiring the Japanese pitching infinity stones right now, dude. This is insane. I've been reading articles. I'm really tapped in with Dodger Twitter and, the Locked On podcast. Those guys do a great job over there. Shouts out. Locked On Pod, Dodger, whatever. I don't fucking know. Anyways.
No, the Locked On Network is great.
It's great. The whole Locked On Network is great. But yeah, shouts out. Yeah. I've seen that like Friedman has met with Sasaki like a couple years ago. Like definitely in 2022 was out there and, who's this kid? Like I was trying to learn about him. They were like, to be honest, when I first heard about Yamamoto, I thought we were talking about Sasaki a couple years or, last 2 years ago, before the World Baseball Classic. But yeah, it was just incredible now to see this kid now. I'm sorry, this young man, I shouldn't call him a kid, getting
he is.
How do I say it? Getting released from his team in Japan?
So it's interesting because he was posted by his team, and it sort of seems like he kind of made a little bit of leverage play here because, like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, if Sasaki had just waited 2 years till he's 25 years old, he could have basically essentially entered free agency like he was Juan Soto this offseason. Like, he doesn't have to follow the 6 years of service time that MLB rookies have to follow in order to be eligible for their first contract or their first extension or whatever. The Oryx Buffaloes decided to post him, and there's obviously a lot of speculation as to why that happened because Yamamoto was the Chiba Lotte Marines.
There you go.
Chiba Lotte Marines posted him.
And real quick, I just want to say that is the dedication to real, true journalism that we strive for always.
No,
at Deferred
there's a reason why I brought up the Oryx Buffaloes. It's because last year the Oryx Buffaloes posted Yamamoto, but because he was 25 years old, they were entitled to much more money. They could essentially ask for a lot more to release him and to give him the transfer fee.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers. Go ahead. Sorry.
Million.
Yeah.
So
was it 50?
Wow,
dude, that's a lot of green, dude.
On top of the 320, so Yamamoto, not only did he cost the Dodgers $50 million, then he cost them $325 million for the contract. Here we have Sasaki, who's just going to get a rookie contract. He's going to get a normal 6-year rookie contract, so he's not going to make a lot of money. Shohei did something similarly when he went to the Angels, where he got posted early. It was a $2.3 million signing bonus. So the Dodgers are allotted a certain amount in signing bonuses, and they actually have more to offer this year than they would next year. So a lot of people are speculating, is that why Sasaki's posting now? Because they would have less money to offer him in terms of an international signing bonus, because right now the Dodgers can actually offer him the most out of any team. They can offer him $2.5 million. And apparently next year the reason why they take a hit is because they signed Ohtani. So they're actually going to take a little bit of a hit on it. But so it begs the question, why did the Chiba Lotte Marines agree to post him here when they could have just waited 2 years and then they could have taken a $50 million transfer fee?
Well, Jess, there's been some rumblings that a part of the agreement for Roki, and this is hearsay, I can't, I wasn't there for any of this, anyways. Well, but there was some rumblings that maybe when Sasaki was in high school, that to sign with the Marines, or to commit with them early, a part of his contract was that he let them know that I want to be in the MLB. Like, I want to be on the biggest stage. That's where I see myself. And There's been some talk that maybe this has been kind of in motion for a couple years, at least ever since the World Baseball Classic in 23, where he did shine. There's been a clip of him striking out of Rosarena that's been making the rounds again, where he's just flashing just a nasty, what looks like a slider, 102, just crazy.
It's a
fucking
cutter.
mechanic.
No, I'm
Is it a
sorry.
cutter?
I'm sorry. It's a splitter that has cut to it. He throws it. The grip on his splitter is different than how Shohei and Yamamoto throw their splitters. His splitter actually normally right-handed splitters go arm side. They break arm side. His breaks to the opposite side.
Just
So it
video
almost
game
breaks
shit.
a curveball, which is so bizarre, but it's a really devastating pitch.
Video game shit. So,
Yeah.
those guys win a World Baseball Championship a couple years ago. I don't know how many times I've said that, but they win the championship a couple years ago. Pretty incredible stuff. A part of me feels like maybe Sasaki's like, there's nothing really left for me to prove here. I see what my old teammates are doing, not just Shohei and not just Yamamoto, who obviously won the World Series this year, but Imanaga had a great year, looking like, one of the, I think he was up there for Cy Young for like almost 3/4 of the year, half the year. He's out in Chicago. Yu Darvish, Japanese pitching legend out there in Japan, who was adamant that the Padres go after Yamamoto, go after Ohtani. They missed on them, so maybe they don't miss with Sasaki, trying to court him over. And then maybe there's like the allure of, the Yankees with, Tanaka and stuff like that, some of the lore of the past. But that was
they
then,
also had
dude.
Ichiro on the team for a little bit too.
Totally. And so I guess you could even say maybe Seattle's in play. But
Correct.
Vegas
I
is money.
think,
And
to your point, we're going to go over this. Chicago is interesting too, and for obvious reasons, but we'll get to it. Continue. But you mentioned Imanaga, and they also have Seiya Suzuki.
Yeah.
So I do think that they are potentially a suitor as well.
yeah, and I'm forgetting the guy's name in Boston right now. Fielder, whatever. It doesn't matter. Maybe I'm tripping.
Oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Yeah, this is not a. Hey, we're not a Red Sox podcast, Brent.
No, we're in off-season mode. We've been floating a little bit.
We
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a school night for me. But anyways, my point was, there's other options, but
Masataka Yoshida.
there we go. My point is that there's a lot of these guys that were on that team that are not just over in the MLB, the big stage, but they're having like outstanding seasons. And I think he's kind of feeling like maybe a big fish in a small pond. And dude, I've been 23. I've been fired up and cocky as hell and kind of going, you know what? I got enough money right now. I don't fucking, this wasn't me saying it, but I could imagine a competitor like him going, you know what? I got the money. I want the glory now. I want to either, my betting thing is he wants to go be a part of the greatest Japanese pitching trio of all time with Ohtani and Yamamoto and go try and win, 10 World Series in 10 years. Obviously it's not going to happen, but you get my point. And the way the Dodgers have positioned themselves with Ohtani's contract, they scarily have the resources to do it. And if you think about that for a second, because they're going to also be able to offer Sasaki, hey, a lot of teams are going to want you to acclimate to a 5-man rotation. We're going to do a 6-man rotation here in LA, which is on the West Coast. You have better weather. You're going to have access to sponsors that you're not going to have in maybe Seattle or wherever else in the, whatever other the 30 teams might offer you. And
I think that's important here.
And it all creates this package that's like, yeah, maybe you're only going to get this, league minimum for the first couple of years, but by the time you hit free agency at 29, you might be, a $400 million pitcher or whatever,
Here's what I think people are missing about this, and I saw some other podcasts bringing this up, is the fact people are speculating, like, there's something fishy going on. Why would the Marines allow Sasaki to be posted early? They lose so much. There's no financial incentive for them to do this.
Yeah.
They have all the leverage. They can wait it out. Yes, on the surface of things, you're right. one thing to consider, this is a very honor-based country. They might feel like they are culturally different. They might feel like they owe something to Sasaki, that, they made like a promise to him or something, or he says, I don't want to play here anymore. They might feel obligations to that. You have to consider that at face value. With a culture like Japan, they're very different than in America. They are much more of an honor-based society than we are. Yeah, so that's one. Now, even if that weren't true here, what were you going to say?
I do got one little collusion-y hypothesis. Sasaki's velocity had ticked down a couple miles per hour this last year.
You're getting to my point here.
So yeah. I wonder if maybe he senses a surgery needing to happen down the road or something like that. And maybe he thinks sorry, go ahead, take over.
No, yeah. I think I'm on the same page. Or it's like, hey, I maybe saw like a downtick in my velo. Like, I'm not going to keep taking the risks now. If I have to get like Tommy John surgery in the next year or two, why would I do it now when and then what, I'm going to get posted when I'm coming off of Tommy John at 25 years old? I'm not going to get that $50 million signing bonus. I'm not going to get it. So he might. Now, look, that's total speculation. That's like fear mongering of the ninth degree. Like we're not 100% sure of that at all.
Yeah, we're talking to Q on that one, dude. That's that's our source.
If you velo dip like that, to your point, you're like, hey, I want to go somewhere now where I'm going to be able to compete while my arm is at the fucking highest level that it's going to be in my life. But B, also, I'm going to go be with like the best medical teams in the world. I'm going to go be with the best pitching development teams in the world. I'm going to go be with like major leaguers in these formative years of my 23, 24, 25, very important years for a major leaguer's career. So I think that's important. But also, there's a chance here that there's some back-end deal going on for the Chiba Lotte Marines, because
some collusion.
The Dodgers can't do anything. They would clearly be risking a lot by like putting some sort of like cash deal under the table for the Marines, right? To post him or whatever signs him.
There's no evidence to suggest that the Guggenheim group operates like that. If this was Frank McCourt, I would say definitely. But yeah, like I was saying, dude, they've positioned themselves to be this ultra attractive location where it's like, if you're leaving because you feel like, hey, I got a shot to be great right now, and I'm going to maybe let it all eat. Hey, have to get a little cleanup surgery. I'll be back a year later. And then, 2027, I'm back throwing 102, whatever. You know?
But what if you're the PR group that manages Sasaki? You can make a deal with the Marines. And you say, hey, like, he's going to make these endorsement deals over here. What if we cut you guys a percentage? I don't know how the contracts work over there.
Yeah,
but I did see some other podcasts speculating about that, so I'm going to throw it out there as a possibility that that could be part of it. That they're going to be working with like other Japanese companies. I'm sure these Japanese companies have some tie to the
Yeah, I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you probably watched the World Series, and I'm sure you saw more than you're used to the amount of Japanese ads, in the background, going, oh shit, and it's just a little bit of that Shohei effect. As Dodger fans, we've seen it all year, and not just noticing that, but the demographic at the park. There's way more Japanese, just Asian fans in general. It's really cool, and it's cool to see the stadium doing different nights and a lot of different Hispanic heritage nights from, friggin' El Salvadoran to friggin' Guatemalan. It was cool, but it's a really incredible time. And Jess, I just was kind of thinking to myself, like, how rad would it be if the Dodgers got all these Japanese stars together and they have all this success and then they fucking hate each other, dude. They break up like the Beatles and they go to different teams and they all just start fucking battling, dude.
We are entering like the Samurai Dodgers era right now, and
I coined it, dude.
I know I said it, I said it this time. But it's kind of true that if this happens, if we get Sasaki, it's going to be a major storyline of this team. The fact that 3 of the 6, because the Dodgers are likely to go to 6 or 7 man rotation, 3 of the 7 starting pitchers, 8 starting pitchers the Dodgers throwing out there are like the biggest superstars in Japan. What really this says to me, if the Dodgers do get Sasaki, is that they have a long-term plan of cornering the Japanese market and making the entire nation of Japan Dodger fans. And the value of that cannot be quantified in a way that like you or I can even comprehend, because baseball is borderline bigger in Japan than it is in America. Keep that in mind.
I would say that baseball right now is bigger in Japan than it is in the States, just because a little bit less people, you're on an island, and the historian Dan Carlin uses this phrase in his audiobook series or audio whatever biography, whatever, but it called like the Supernova in the 80s. It's about like Japan pre and during World War II. But he says that the Japanese are just like everyone else except more so. And their dedication to baseball, and dude, the way that you're churning out pitchers and just like it's insane. This like level. It seems that that Japanese national team was in the World Baseball Classic was just they had this extra gear, and now getting to see Yamamoto for a year, seeing what Ohtani can do now just as a hitter was incredible. Creating the 50-50 club. I mean, dude, it's an unprecedented era for Japanese athletes in baseball, and I just would say Asian athletes in sports. It's really rad. It's a really cool time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I'm interested in that book. You make me want to read that book now. But
yeah, when I was working in commercial agriculture, I would throw in my audiobooks, and it was one of his like it's like a 4 or 5 parter, maybe I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 parts, but they're like 3 hours, 4 hours long each. They're just these pretty detailed little tomes. But yeah,
dude, I'm fascinated by Japan.
I'm
fascinated by Japan. I've never been there. And my wife has been there. You've been there. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. Maybe I'm considering.
We should go to a game, dude.
Opening day. Considering an opening day trip.
We should go to a game.
Yeah, but Sasaki, we don't know yet. Let's make it be. I want to tell a little story about Sasaki, but before we go to that, where do you think he goes? Do you think he 100% signs with the Dodgers? Do you think there's a chance he goes to another team?
I really do, because I wasn't kidding. I've really seen multiple like articles. I've seen pictures of Friedman talking to Sasaki from a few years ago. So I think they're, like you were saying, you wouldn't be surprised if maybe the Marines and the Dodgers, Scouts, or whatever has had this little handshake agreement, and now it's kind of coming to, or whatever. But I really do think he goes to the Dodgers. I don't know if I doubt anything nefarious is going on, but it just seems like the best place to go. And if you're trying to win and win now and be a part of something great, and like, again, bigger than baseball, you're a part of this Ohtani kind of era in Japan as a Japanese star. Like, dude, you're setting yourself up for life, dude, at 23. I think it's kind of one of those things that, like, maybe at a glance it seems silly to post early, but I think the ultimate goals here for him are, again, a little bit bigger than baseball, and I think it's a little bit more about like legacy and
win as much now as you can. Yes, with Ohtani and Yamamoto. 100% agree with you. I do want to throw out a couple teams. There is a chance. I do think that the Padres, because of his relationship with Yu Darvish, apparently he's like his mentor. That is a possibility. Problem with that, Darvish is 37, going to be turning 38. He's going to be done soon, most likely. You know, he doesn't have much longer to go. The Cubs are an interesting one. Watch out for the Chicago Cubs in this, because they want to get better, but they don't really want to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of big free agents would sign with them. Like, I think they're out on Fried. I think they're out on Burns. I think they'll try, but I don't think they'll get him. So Sasaki makes a lot of sense because he's so cheap, and they have Seiya Suzuki and they have Shota Imanaga. So there is a foundation of Japanese presence there.
There
that
are
would
some
make it more of
studs.
a natural transition for him, which would make a lot of sense. But I agree. I think it's Dodgers. It just makes the most sense for him to play with Otani, to play with Yamamoto, to build on your legacy, and to be also with the best organization and the best, to develop the best you can, in the best way. But before we move on from Sasaki, incredible story about him that people should know, in case you didn't know, is that his father and his grandparents died in the tsunami in 2011 that hit Japan. So he grew up completely devastated, lost his home, lost his father, lost his grandparents. Just an incredible story of like triumph and perseverance for him as a young boy to where he is now, competing for a major league contract. He was 11 years old, 10 years old, 9 years old, whatever it was. Just an incredible story
man.
for him.
Yeah, that's
to
insane.
go through that and to be where he is now. So.
Yeah, that's a guy you want to root for regardless where he signs with.
Yeah, if he signs with the Dodgers and you're mad at him for that, just like remember what he's come from, like what he had to go through to where he is now. Just keep that in mind.
That's insane. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, how could you not root for a guy like that, dude? Well, I'm excited to see him pitch next year, dude.